So I'm stepping right outside of my comfort zone on this next carve. As you can probably see behind me here, most of my carvings look very brown. I fancy adding a bit of colour to this next carve, so I'm going to have a go at painting. I've had a rummage around and I've come across this nice piece of lime, which is going to work perfectly for Santa Claus. So I'm going to cut this one down just to the right size, rough it out, and we'll get carving. Well, firstly, I'd like to say sorry because I got a bit carried away when I was roughing out and I carried on and done the hat. I'm new to this whole YouTube thing and I keep getting carried away with my carvings and then come to do the edit and realise that I haven't recorded parts of it. Quite often, quite important parts of it. That's most of the sketching out done now, so just about to start the actual carving. So this isn't real time. I don't really carve this fast. This is 200%, so it's I assume twice as fast. This cut that I'm putting in here is probably one of the most cuts I use when I'm carving something like this, and it's a stop cut. So as you can see there, I've cut the stop cut. Now I'm just cutting in underneath it, but being very, very careful not to undercut it, because that chin there is going to go down quite a bit deeper than that. So this is almost like roughing a sketch out, if you like. So if you look there, I was cutting away from the chin there, because it's better to go back and trim that out rather than undercutting it. If you undercut it, it's pretty much curtains, unless you take the chin, or the beard as it's going to be, back a bit further to get the lines out where you've undercut it. So it's always better to cut away and then have another stab at it afterwards. I've been doing quite a lot of this more freestyle type carving lately. I say freestyle, I mean making it up as I go along, really. So not having a massive plan, kind of letting the carve kind of take me where it wants to go. What you tend to have to do, as I'm doing here, is drawing back in lines again, because it's largely about levels. You're just really trying to get the levels right, so you're taking back, cutting your stop cuts, cutting back to them, and then dropping everything behind that stop cut. I'm just doing the buckle here, and again being really, really careful that I'm not undercutting that. So that cut I'm doing there, that's for the belt. So I want the belt there to go where I'm drawing there. That's like the fluffy white bit underneath the coat. So I wanted that to kind of come down, make him look quite fat, so it sort of come down and over the top of the belt. So I want the belt to almost disappear underneath the white fluffy bit. So again, stop cut in, cut down to it, and then we'll start dropping out that level behind it in a minute. That squeaking in the background, by the way, is my chair. Doesn't do it anymore. I didn't even know it was doing it until I listened back to the recording. I've oiled it now. So that cut there I'm doing is the deep cut into the pit of the arm, I guess, pit of the elbow. So it's a nice big deep V cut there. And that's the other side going in now. And again, just as important here, make sure you don't cut inwards underneath the arm, because that's going to come down quite a bit more. That tummy kind of tucks in underneath there. So the last thing you want to do is to be running out of wood to be able to cut down. That's the back of the arm cut in there. Yeah, WD-40 solved my squeaky seat. Sounds even stranger when you speed it up. You note at the top of this cut by the hat there, I've taken a cut out of his hat and his hair. I have to sort the hat out, but the obviously the hair doesn't matter too much. It's going to have lines in it anyway, and the levels are going to come down a bit more to that. I caught that with the knife that was a bit too long. Once you've got those levels down, you can start curving back the arm then to start bringing it around, and that'll give you an idea then of how deep you need to go. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of depth to go in there, otherwise you'll have a really flat arm, and that arm there is going to go into a pocket, so it has to go in quite deep. Again here I'm taking that level back down over the belt and the bottom of the coat there, and I'll draw that back in, but I've already put lines in there, so as long as you keep putting the lines back in, you can kind of see where it's going to eventually end up. And again, cutting away that belt level to bring that round that corner off a little bit more. But you can still see where I put the stop cuts in, so I can draw them back in. Give me an idea where they are. And sometimes I just go in and make them a little bit deeper, even though I know I'm going to probably take them out of it more in a minute, or right away. It gives me a pretty good idea there where the line's got to go back in. You may notice that I don't wear a glove, and a lot of the carvings that I do is handheld carvings. I wouldn't recommend not wearing a glove, especially when you're learning. My partner Claus just started to learn how to do spoons, and we've got her a glove to start off. But what you want to really be careful of, or mindful of, is every cut that you do is just cut away from your hands. And eventually, I mean, I've been carving for probably 3 or 4 years now, so it's become second nature. But you end up not really ever cutting towards your hand. And if you do, you kind of, as I'm doing there, you kind of hold the end of the knife to give it a bit of tension, so you know it's not going to come through and cut your hand. Doesn't mean you never cut your hand. I do occasionally, but not very often. I find gloves make the work a little bit grubby sometimes, especially if you're using pencil lines quite a lot. And yeah, I find it quite difficult to use now with a glove on. But like I say, I'd certainly recommend it if you're new to it, until you get the cut sorted out at least, to wear a stab-proof glove, especially if you're doing your hand-held stuff like this. bringing the shape of the belt over there, and then the fluffy bit on the bottom of the coat. I'll texturise that eventually, so it doesn't got to be perfect, but I want to try and get the shape about right. And there we go, we're dropping that level down now to try and make that beard pop out a little bit. Just give it a bit of shape. Cut's going in quite nice and deep now, and that kind of gives it the feeling that the arm kind of disappears, or got a nice deep part. It's all about shadows really, and different depths to make it look like it's you're trying to represent. Drawing that line back in. We're just going in for that pocket now, so that line across there is going to represent the pocket. Put a stop cut in there. And we drop the arm down. I actually forgot here that I wanted originally, or I had in my head, that I was going to put in a fluffy white cuff around the coat. But I did actually manage to get it in the end. You'll see on the final piece. There was enough to be able to put a small white ring around the end, but I did forget about it originally. You can get away with these things sometimes. The wood I'm using here is quite a soft American lime. I'm used to using a lot harder woods than this, and although it's harder work sometimes doing the actual cuts, you get a nicer finish. I find with this that you end up with a bit of fluff sometimes that you have to kind of almost dig out. You don't. I mean, I use quite a lot of sycamore and cherries and things like that, and pretty much if you make a cut, you can chip it out nice, and yeah, there's a bit of fluff there. Fuzzies, I think people call them. Almost scrape them out, but yeah. So I'm going to shape the pocket here a little now. Some nice little small chisels here that kind of allow you to get some nice shapes on there. Slowly and carefully round it over. And that kind of gives the effect that he's got his hand in his pocket. Again, just dropping that level now, but below that, it'll give you the effect of a bulging pocket with his hand in it. Same applies when you're using a chisel as well. Always cut away from your hands. Never, ever do you push it towards your hand. If it slips, well, trip to A&E. Quite often when I'm doing something like this, where you've obviously got 2 arms, 2 feet or whatever, quite often I'll get one fairly, not finished, but fair way down the road, so you've got a good idea of the shape and everything, and then obviously when you come to do the next one, you've got a pretty good idea of where you want it to end up. There's a danger if you start taking them both down at the same time, that if you make a mistake or whatever, it's you obviously made the mistake on both. So far, so good. So I have another confession to make here. This was another point I forgot to record. Got into doing the face and realised I hadn't recorded it. So apologies there. I promise that in the next few videos I'll do a how I carve faces video. I did manage to get a few bits. There's a bit here where I was doing these eyes. Interesting little chisel here. I found out recently, somebody asked me what it was, and I started looking into it, and apparently that is a dentist's tool for removing plaque. There you go. I used to have a hook on the end of it, but since been ground off and sharpened into a small chisel. It's steel, obviously, so it's stainless steel, so it makes an amazing little tiny chisel. It's just over 1 millimetre in width, so when you're doing little tiny eyes like this, it's just the ticket really. Key to doing stuff this small is just to go so careful. One wrong move and you flake out a piece, and that's pretty much it then. See how cautious I'm being on that eyelid there. So like I say, that's about as much as I got on the face. Using a V tool here to put in the hair. It's flex cut micro palm chisel set that I've got, and yeah, it's absolutely perfect for doing this. Key to make sure that you've got your grain in the right direction. You end up, especially using wood like this, you can get away with the harder wood sometimes, but certainly softer wood like this, you've got to make sure that you're going in the right direction. So you'll see that I'm doing that, and then I come back down and go the other way. you're trying to achieve with that is flow. Obviously hair doesn't go straight down, it flows, gives it more of a natural effect then, I think. And if you've got a beard like me, you can study it. Quite amazing how observant carving makes you. You realise things that you wouldn't normally realise. Certainly his back's an example of that. You kind of don't really look at people's backs that much, but I've done a few similar sorts of carves to this before and since, and yeah, the back kind of arches around more than you would think it did. So that's pretty much Santa carved out. So I had a go at a Santa sack. What I was just rabbling on about then, about how observant it makes you. I rather naively thought that I knew what a sack looked like. How, you know, as a sack of toys, how difficult can that actually be? So I didn't do too much research and just carried on and carved something out that I thought represented a sack. And yeah, not quite simple as I thought. Ended up looking like a vase, as you'll see. Nothing like a sack. Certainly that top bit is awful. So yeah, complete mess really. Wasn't happy with that at all. Even had a go at the top of it, and now it just looked like a vase that had been cut away. So went on the internet and found this sack and set about representing it. I thought, well, sometimes you just have to start again if you're not happy with it. So this is Santa Sack Phase 2. I'm a lot happier with this. Quite enjoyed doing this bit. It's the folds of the material and stuff. Again, this is the flex cut micro chisels that get into do stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's chalk and cheese. It's amazing how you think you know what things look like until you realise that you don't. That's pretty much it now. So, as I said at the beginning, this is about having a paint, this one. So I set about painting it. Not really got too much to say on painting, so I'm going to put some music over and stop rabbiting. And there's some bits and pieces at the end there, some photos of it finally finished. But overall, I was quite pleased at how it came out. If you've made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. Hope you found it interesting, and if you did, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.